Good evening. Tonight, the country is toxic. Decorum is fast becoming a rare phenomenon among the people we regard as waheshimiwa. The Jubilee Party is imploding, and when the party in power sneezes, everyone who cares about politics gets a cold. It goes without saying that politics is the way of life in Kenya. Everything revolves around it. And as Jubilee members led by the top leadership, President Uhuru Kenyatta and as Deputy William Ruto continue with their virtual duel, their foot soldiers are crying more. Some even swearing with the names of mothers or dragging the mothers of others into their bile-filled tirades. Honorable Johanna Ngeno and Honorable Oscar Sudi are on record spewing words about mothers and President Uhuru Kenyatta. Words that even the man they purport to speak for says a no and no to it. Lack of social modesty is not new to politicians. In fact, politicians thrive better in chaos than in a socially cohesive environment. Ngeno and Sudi say they are angry with the president. They have a right to be. In fact, they should, and we should, all of us, be angry. But we should not forget why and who we are angry with. If President Kenyatta is the reason for Sudi and Ngeno to transform into the whales of hate, they should not drag the characters and other characters into it. Hate speech is a crime in Kenya, but there exists a thin line between what constitutes as hate speech and what constitutes as political rhetoric. What's more is that hate speech cases against politicians have been prosecuted in courts have always ended in anticlimax. The fines are often too lenient to deter a repeat of the crime, and the perpetrators even too powerful to fear repeating it over and over again. Don't forget that they are also often looked upon by their juniors as they influence social norms. Sadly and unfortunately, they have remained a bad example to emulate. So, Bwana Muheshimiwa or Waheshimiwa, as you attack your boss in the name of championing for injustice meted on his equal, remember you are as good as the people whom you represent, many of whom do not subscribe to the toxic and loathsome rhetorics. Tonight, I finish our editorial commentary by saying that Kenya is way bigger and more important than any political contest. Good evening, that is our voice. These are the stories making headlines tonight. Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki remanded for 1 day pending the determination of his bail application in a 34 million shillings graft case. Emurua Dikir MP Johanna Ngeno to spend 2 nights in police cell for alleged crime of hate speech. Counties to remain without funds until Parliament passes requisite law allowing the Treasury to release 50% of last year's allocations. And Innocent Simiyu makes a comeback as Shujaa head coach, raising hopes of soaring the performance of the national sevens team. Good evening. Tonight of all nights, TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi, begins right now. Ann Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. To our top story, Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki and 16 other people will spend a second consecutive night in EACC custody awaiting bail ruling set for tomorrow at the Milimani Law Courts. While appearing before Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti on Tuesday, Njuki and the 16 co-accused denied all 16 counts of economic crimes leveled against them. David Mudoka begins our broadcast tonight.
In their first appearance before Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti at the Milimani Law Courts on Tuesday, Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki and 16 others denied all 16 counts of economic crime facing them. But the governor and the 16 co-accused save for one suspect reportedly hospitalized following surgery, will spend another night in the cold Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission custody, pending a bail ruling set for Wednesday, 10 a.m.
Explain to all parties, this ruling will be delivered tomorrow at 10 a.m. So the accused will be held, some at the EACC police station, some at Parklands, and some at Kilelesho.
My name is Dunstan Omari, together with Makuri Mabeya, for the 7th accused person.
The 16 are accused of milking the Tharaka-Nithi coffers up to 34.9 million shillings through irregular tendering after a company named Westomax Investments Limited won a 34.9 million shillings tender to supply, install and commission an incinerator in Tharaka-Nithi despite submitting fraudulent documents. The money would thereafter be wired to close associates of Governor Njuki, among them businessman Japheth Gitonga Nyange, who received 8.7 million shillings, Njuki's brother-in-law Kenneth Mushuyangai, who received 5.2 million shillings, Kenstar Electrical and Hardware Limited received 4.7 million shillings, while Caroline Sheila Wambui received 985,000 shillings.
We start. Yes.
Meanwhile, the Council of Governors has criticized the handling of Njuki's prosecution, terming it unfair.
We condemn the manner in which governors' arrests and prosecution have been handled, like the case of Governor for Tharaka-Nithi, His Excellency Muthomi Njuki.
This as a section of Tharaka-Nithi residents warned heads to roll following the allegations of a tendering scam involving Governor Njuki.
Kwanza nianze kushukuru mheshimiwa wetu rais kwa haya maneno ya corruption, ile alisema ukishikwa na corruption lazima ujitetewe mwenyewe na ubebe msalama wako wewe mwenyewe.
Tharaka-Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki and 16 co-accused are set to spend yet another night in EACC custody with a ruling on bail set for tomorrow 10 a.m. David Muthoka, TV47 at Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, Imurua Dikir, Member of Parliament Johanna Ngeno, will spend 2 more nights in police custody while waiting for his bail ruling Thursday this week. Johanna Ngeno was presented in court after the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, conferred charges of hate speech and incitement against him. Mwangi Maina has the details.
For the next 2 days, the cold police cells of Nakuru Central Police Station will be the home to Emurua Dikir Johanna Ngeno, who was arraigned on Tuesday on 2 counts of hate speech and incitement. Appearing before Chief Magistrate Elizabeth Luswing, Ngeno pleaded not guilty to 2 charges conferred against him by the Director of Public Prosecution, Nurdin Haji. In a statement to newsrooms Tuesday morning, DPP said the MP uttered words which were threatening, abusive and insulting, and intended or were likely to stir up ethnic animosity amongst communities residing within Transmara area. The DPP said there was sufficient evidence to initiate the prosecution of the MP under the National Cohesion and Integration Act of 2008 and the Penal Code Cap 63 laws of Kenya. Ngeno's lawyer Kimutai Bosek wanted him released on reasonable bail terms, arguing that he has a constitutional right, he is not a flight risk, and the prosecution did not provide any compelling reason to have him detained.
The accused person, as I indicated, is a honorable member of parliament. Therefore, a state officer under the provisions of our constitution is not a flight risk.
Later, demos followed in Nakuru town with protesters calling for respect to President Uhuru Kenyatta as a head of state. The KANU party now want the MP to resign or he faces forceful expulsion over his insightful and unsavory remarks. KANU Secretary General Nick Salat says Ngeno has crossed the red line and the party cannot tolerate him any longer.
The party cannot tolerate this kind of uncivilized conduct from a person who carries the flag, its flag, and benefits from its brand. In this regard, the party finds Honorable Ngeno's membership in KANU unattainable and therefore calls upon him to resign.
Matamshi ya kuropokwa ya kihuni ni mambo ambayo katika chama cha KANU hayakubaliki. Mheshimiwa Johana, sisi tumeosha mkono. Hana nafasi katika chama ambacho kinaamini kuhusu heshima ya rais wa nchi.
Ngeno uttered the insightful remarks Sunday at Olsgos Sofia village, castigating President Uhuru Kenyatta for allegedly sidelining his deputy. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mwangi Maina, for that report. Moving on, the Council of Governors is tonight standing firm on threats to shut down counties if funds will not be released to the devolved units by the 17th of this month. This as National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi insists that an amendment to the Public Finance Management Act has to be done for the 47 units to receive at least 50% of the share. Our Parliamentary Affairs reporter Elizabeth Mutuku now reports that Senate is yet to agree on the revenue sharing formula, with a sit-in now slated for next week after a sit-in was postponed today.
As the revenue sharing stalemate continues, the Council of Governors is still holding on the threat to shut down counties if funds will not be released to the devolved units by 17th of this month.
Our efforts to provide solution to the existing stalemate, our proposals have been disregarded. Further, Parliament and the National Treasury have failed to operationalize the principles laid out in the Supreme Court Advisory Reference number 3 of 2019.
This is as calls to have at least 50% of the funds released to the counties intensify following stalled budgets. National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi, however, says that can only be achieved by amending the Public Finance Management Act for future purposes. Muturi is also proposing a meeting between the leadership of the both houses to resolve the matter.
The leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party are hereby requested to urgently engage the Senate majority and minority leadership to fast-track the consideration and passage of the Senate of the Public Finance Management Act Bill, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2019, with appropriate amendments to entrench the procedure for the withdrawals from the consolidated fund in law in the event of any delays in the passage of the annual county allocation of revenue.
The Senate is expected to debate the revenue share stalemate next week after Senate Speaker Kenneth Lusaka directed the 12-member committee to keep deliberating the matter. An informal meeting known as Kamkunchi is expected on Monday next week to discuss the report by the 12-member committee.
Finance Management Act, the national government, regulations, and further fortified by the ratio decidendi of the court in advisory opinion number 3 of 2019 to transfer to the counties 50% of the allocation made in the County Allocation of Revenue Act 2019.
And with senators rubbishing calls by governors to have the upper house dissolved, Minority Leader James Orengo insists that so far nothing unconstitutional has been done by the house.
When we were struggling to make sure that we get what the counties deserve, and they refused. In fact, if governors knew their work in the county, they should have supported the Senate to the hilt. But now they want the money. They want the money. They want not only this money that they are being given by Parliament. They want the COVID money also. They want the box. Yeah, they want the box. But they don't want oversight. They don't want to account. What type of people are these?
Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Elsewhere, a standoff is brewing between senators and governors over the continued defiance by the county bosses to physically attend sittings by the Public Accounts Committee. Now, governors are insisting on virtual meetings with claims of extortion from committee members. Joash Onsare has the report. Well, Joash Ansari is still working on that story. It will be coming on your way shortly. That story, of course, touches on the standoff between senators and governors, and as far as attending grilling sessions are concerned. Let's move to other stories. All right, it seems we will be forced to take a short break. That and much more stories will be coming on your way. You're watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakr Abdullahi. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with more news after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakr Abdullahi. Thank you for staying with us. Elsewhere, leaders from across the political divide have condemned utterances by Deputy President William Ruto's allies, Johanna Ngeno of Emurua Dikir and Kapsaret MP, Oscar Sudi. ODM leader Raila Odinga has called out the leaders who have been accused of fueling ethnic contempts through hateful sentiments and statements. This as the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, says police will not spare any leader spreading hate speech and incitement.
ODM leader Raila Odinga is among leaders who condemned the remarks by Ruto allies Johanna Ngeno of Emurua Dikir and Kapsaret Oscar Sudi. Odinga warning the leaders against remarks that can lead the country into violence.
You've gone to war in 1992, 97, and 2007. Nobody should try to take this country to war again because of politics.
A section of women leaders led by Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru have also castigated the remarks, terming them as insults to the former First Lady. The legislatures are now seeking for an apology over the alleged remarks by the duo,
and ask politicians to direct their responses and attacks, if need be, to their fellow politicians. We demand stern legal action against the perpetrators, and we also demand for an apology to the mother of the nation.
Deputy President William Ruto in his Twitter handle had said that leaders should exercise restraint and avoid insults and bad language against other Kenyans. A section of lawmakers allied to the DP have distanced themselves from utterances made by the Emurua Dikir lawmaker Johanna Ngeno and his Kapsaret counterpart Oscar Sudi.
Please go back, the two of you, go and sit and agree na mtuambie vile tutaenda mbele kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Mimi nataka niombe msamaha nikiwa kiongozi wa hapa Uasin Gishu. As young leaders, we distance ourselves completely kulingana na hiyo matusi ambayo ilisema.
Na mimi nasema hivi, watu wengine wasitumia advantage ya watu wengine. Kama kuna mjumbe aliongea namna hiyo, sio Ruto aliongea, ni mtu aliongea binafsi. Mungangana naye huko. Murale akiongea, sio Kenyatta ameongea.
The National Assembly Security Committee is also reading from the same scripts in condemning the utterances.
What we heard from Johanna Ngeno and Oscar Sudi yesterday was not a disagreement with President Uhuru Kenyatta. It was a personal attack and an insult to not only the president, but also members of his family, more so his mother.
Under no circumstance will we allow this country to go to the dogs because of the leaders of this country.
ANC party says such utterances can lead the country into violence, calling on leaders to use other ways of resolving their differences.
And then we can have leaders again beginning to speak and beat the drumbeats of war and violence and insults when we have just come out of hell. Muwaombe washindwe kabisa.
Sisi hatutaki kuwa wale vijana kama wale vijana ambao tumeona juzi wakitukana mama ya rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Tunataka tuwe vijana wa nidhamu. So mimi ningependa kukashifu kwanza jambo hilo la vijana na viongozi vijana kupeana cheche za matusi kila wakati.
And it's a shame. It's a shame. Great shame for leaders to abuse women. And I stand in this Church of God as a woman, County MP for Vihiga, a woman of God, an elder of the church. I want to repent on behalf of these people who are shouting.
In a statement to Newsroom, the National Police Service Inspector General Hilary Mutyambai says the police department will not spare any politician fueling violence. Nancy Kimuyu, TV47.
Elsewhere, standoff is brewing between senators and governors over the continued defiance by the county bosses to physically attend sittings by the Public Accounts Committee. Governors are insisting on virtual meetings with claims of extortion from committee members. Josh Onsare has the details.
The county bosses have yet again condemned Senate's Public Accounts Committee over continued summons to appear before the Oversight Committee physically. COG says this is despite a consensus to conduct the grilling virtually.
We note that the Senate Committee on the County Public Accounts and Investment has continued to summon governors to appear physically despite a consensus with the council to convene all meetings virtually.
Governors have been accusing the committee of extorting bribes. Minority Leader in the Senate, James Orengo, is however calling on governors to report senators extorting bribes to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
I would advise the governors to go to Integrity House and make a report that on such and such a day there was a senator who asked me for a bribe or I witnessed an event of extortion.
The COG chair, Wycliffe Oparanya, however, says the committee has been used by senators eyeing gubernatorial seats in 2022 to paint their county bosses in bad light.
We are aware that a number of senators are nurturing aspiration to be governors, and as such, the deliberate efforts to portray governors as corrupt.
Murang'a Governor Mwangi Wairia was fined 500,000 shillings for failing to appear before the Sam Ongeri-led committee. Josh Onsare, TV47.
Thank you, Josh, for that report. Moving on, the Kenya Medical Supplies Board Authority, KEMSA, officials spent the better part of the day at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for interrogation following the allegations of embezzlement of public funds at the authority. At least 5 politicians are under investigations and several directors of companies linked to the graft. Nanok Lorraine has the details.
This is where the KEMSA board officials led by Chairperson Kembi Gitura and suspended KEMSA CEO Dr. John Manjari were expected to make their way into the questioning chambers at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC. However, after they made a silent entrance into the Anti-Corruption Commission for interrogation following the KEMSA scandal that saw officials proceeding to procure COVID-19 equipment worth close to 7 billion shillings, the officials decided to remain silent on what transpired after long hours of interrogation, and thereafter their exit from the EACC premises seemed to have been a cat-and-mouse game. EACC is questioning at least 5 politicians and top government officials, as well as directors of close to 50 companies linked to the graft. Sources indicate that the politicians are from the ruling Jubilee Party, as well as the opposition. As it is uncertain as to what transpired behind the EACC's closed doors today, the 7 billion KEMSA scandal remains a mystery. Nanok Lauren, TV47.
Now, the much-anticipated impeachment motion against embattled Migori Governor Okoth Obado was not tabled in the County Assembly on Tuesday after County Assembly Speaker Boaz Okoth postponed the session for flouting the social distance regulations. And as our reporter Eli Logova now reports, Governor Okoth Obado has distanced himself from claims of bribing a section of MCAs to shoot down the impeachment motion against him.
Security was for the better part of Tuesday enhanced in Migori town following an impeachment motion against Governor Okoth Obado that was said to be tabled in the County Assembly. However, the motion did not see the light of the day after the Speaker ruled the session postponed until proper measures are put in place to ensure social distancing is observed. The Speaker directed the House Business Committee to convene a meeting and have the impeachment motion drawn.
We met briefly, and I said we are meeting again tomorrow. And as I said, it is close to a year of not being here.
It's like everybody was prepared today for the impeachment motion, which has not even come. So would wish to call upon all Migorians to relax, let there be no anxiety. If anything comes, these are the members that were elected. They will look at it, analyze it, and make an informed decision.
Impeachment motion against Governor Obado has, however, elicited mixed reactions, with a section of members of County Assembly who attended an ODM meeting last week claiming Obado's ouster motion did not form part of the agendas in the meeting. The MCAs have dismissed claims of signing a document to support the governor's impeachment.
About whether I signed the impeachment motion, I have not signed because I have not seen that impeachment motion. When we went to Nairobi, and I want to repeat, when we went to Nairobi, we were called to attend a consultative meeting by the party. So what I signed and what I stand for, I signed an attendance list. I did not sign an impeachment motion because I didn't see.
Meanwhile, the embattled Migori Governor Okoth Obado has taken issue with a section of ODM leaders led by the party chairman John Mbadi, whom is accusing of using the graft case facing him to foster his impeachment. The governor has further rubbished claims of bribing MCAs to vote against the impeachment motion.
Even the people who are prosecuting or persecuting me, they cannot carry the Bible like this and say that, oh, Mimi, I'm Mr. Clean, I'm cleaner than Obado. They cannot say. And I want to ask them to stop branding me all sorts of nonsense in this world.
Governor Obado is battling a 73 million shillings graft case in court. Eli Logova, TV47.
Elsewhere tonight, we would like to correct a story we carried in our 1 p.m. bulletin saying that the governor of Garissa was being grilled by EACC officials over corruption allegation. We have since confirmed and established that the source of that information was not accurate. It was false. The error is highly regrettable. We apologize for any harm caused onto the person and the office of the Governor Ali Korane. Keep talking to us. You're watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakr Abdullah. Time for us to take another short break here. We still have a lot lined up for you. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakr Abdullahi. Thank you for staying with us here on the county's television. Now, the Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, Kenya Pipeline Company, KPC, and Kenya Railways have formally signed the framework following the establishment of the Kenya Transport and Logistics Network through an executive order by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The joint operation will be overseen by the National Treasury, as Mariam Mwachoma reports from Mombasa. Well, that is Coast Region-based reporter Mariam who will be reporting on that story. I understand it's in the pipeline as well. Let's get to other stories in as far as the bulletin is concerned and talk about matters COVID-19. The country recorded 102 more cases of coronavirus today, raising the national caseload to 35,205. This is the second lowest number of new infections in a day, an indication that the curve could be flattening. But if there was the case, and that was the case, the country risks a spike in the number of cases as private and public political gatherings return unabated. Nancy Kimuyu reports.
Today, 151 people have tested positive from a sample size of 2,552 tested in the last 24 hours. This now brings the number of confirmed positive cases to 35,356. Our number of cumulative tests stand at 400.
September, the 9th month of the year and 179th day into the COVID-19 pandemic in Kenya. The country opened the month with 0 COVID-19 deaths and 114 cases. Over the last few weeks, the number of positive cases has been dropping significantly, with the lowest being 83, which was recorded on Sunday. The trend, according to the Ministry of Health, inspiring confidence that the curve could be flattening despite slow testing capacity due to lack of reagents. September 1st, 114 cases. September 2nd, 178 cases. September 3rd, 1,212 cases. September 4th, 179 cases. September 5th, 136 cases. September 6th, 83 cases. And September 7th, 102 cases. Although the low positive cases have been attributed to a backlog at the public testing facilities occasioned by scarcity of reagents, politicians and members of the public have already started letting down the guard.
There has been a progressive decline in the number of daily confirmed positive cases of COVID-19 nationally. This indeed is an encouraging trend that we need to sustain. Being able to monitor progress in containment of the virus is hinged upon testing.
Over the weekend, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga visited Kakamega County to seek support for BBI amendments, and he mingled with the country's grassroots leaders who cared less about the COVID-19 guidelines. Raila too did not put on a mask the entire time of the meeting. Deputy President William Ruto has also been on a political meeting spree. He has been traversing different parts of the country, meeting with politicians, clergy, and youth groups in full disregard of the COVID-19 guidelines. The Deputy President, an adamant worshipper, has also been holding church meetings at his current residence and his Sugoi home, contrary to the Ministry of Health rules on public gathering. In his 10th COVID-19 address to the nation, President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered for the arrest of leaders who will flout the guidelines, strictly directing the National Police Service to enforce the rules. Nonetheless, the rules are being broken in full glare of the police.
That forthwith, the Inspector General of Police shall ensure that his officers spare no Mheshimiwa, no individual, regardless of social status or rank, who is either out after curfew without being an essential worker, or who flaunts the health protocols that have been set out.
Another in which the public threw caution to the wind is the Malinya bullfighting contest on Saturday. A wild crowd thronged the annual bullfighting event in Malinya Stadium in Kakamega County in full disregard of the COVID-19 guidelines. This other private political meetings are putting the country at risk of falling back to a spike in the number of COVID-19 cases. Whether the curve is falling or not, the threat of more infections is rife.
Elsewhere, the government now says it will no longer make concessions that hamper the war against the proliferation of illegal arms in the region. Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i has reiterated continued observation of the Nairobi Protocol, but demanded the same from other states in honoring the treaty. Take a look.
We have paid a price because of that big brother attitude. And I want to let you know, AU, everyone should do their bit. We will respect the Nairobi Protocol, but let me be very frank with you, and I'm telling the Inspector General of Police, I am not going to be, and we are not going to be taken round in circles at the expense of the security and stability of our country. Our responsibility first is to the Kenyan people. The safety and security of our people is responsibility number one for us. So I have no problem with respecting the Nairobi Protocol. I will respect the Nairobi Protocol, but everybody must do their bit. We are actually paying a price because of the environment in which we find ourselves. Honestly speaking, if we didn't have the kind of neighborhood we have in Kenya, our challenges with small arms would be probably less than we have them right now.
Elsewhere, more than 40 families in Kiambu County have been left homeless and will spend the night in the cold after a fire gutted their house in smoke. The cause of the fire is said to be an explosion of a gas cylinder. Lynette Gidua has the details.
This plume of smoke was a clear indication that some fire was burning. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And indeed, there really was. Unfortunately, it was a fire accident that left some 40 families in Kiambu County counting losses and homeless. Luckily, no one was injured in the fire. The cause of the afternoon inferno is yet to be established. Victims of the fire now are calling upon the government to help them with humanitarian support. Lynette Gidua, TV47.
All right, elsewhere, the Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, Kenya Pipeline Company, KPC, and Kenya Railway have formally signed a framework following the establishment of the Kenya Transport and Logistic Networks through an executive order by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The joint operation will be overseen by the National Treasury. Our reporter Mariam has that story. And it seems for the second time that story still has some issues. Nonetheless, we'll be sorting that out. That is our reporter from the coast who will be reporting to us of the agreement that was signed today between those authorities in as far as the institutions are concerned. Let's cross borders for now to Rwanda, where Rwandan artists have put up public art installation on the COVID-19 pandemic in the city of Kigali to raise awareness on the global pandemic. So far, 4,000 Rwandans have been infected with the virus. Our reporter Diana Iriza from Kigali has more.
So a series of public art has developed here in Kigali, Rwanda. Between June, July and August, a group of 14 artists came together under a project that is designed to use public art to respond to this pandemic. In an interview with Judith Kane, founder and director of Kurema Kwiga, she explains that the act was voluntary but was also aiming at involving artists into the fight against COVID-19 pandemic.
We focus on taking art out of the gallery into public spaces, and we also do commercial art services. So that means that we do a mix of projects both at schools, in community areas, as well as at hotels and restaurants and private homes and businesses. And recently, during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, we wanted to use the power of the voice of artists and their creativity to help contribute to the fight against coronavirus. Together, these different artists came together, they designed their own projects, they pursued partnerships at the community level, so a total of 7 different projects with 9 leading artists and 5 apprentices between market spaces, bus parks, open restaurants, things of that nature, different public spaces where a lot of different people can pass by and see the work.
Speaking to Willie Karekezi, he explains to us what inspired him as an artist to be part of these projects.
We as artists, they wanted to support us and to be able to find a way that we can express the time we have been passing through the visual way. So that's how I found the project interesting. So I was like, let me be on this project. So this work has been done by 3 artists, and also in Kigali there is other places we have other artists here where they have been doing, because it's a group of artists who are working with Kurema. And for me, I was trying to show during that time when nothing was moving. So I was showing an image of somebody in his neighborhood but no movement, because normally in Rwanda people move around that much. So it was another reflect of how the time is without having people.
Kurema Kwiga organization partnered with Rwanda Biomedical Center in implementation of the project. Other partners in the project include Goethe Institute, the German Embassy in Rwanda, and local paint manufacturer and Amekikolo. Diana Iriza, Kigali, Rwanda.
Now let's revisit a story that we earlier told you. We'll be having it throughout this bulletin again. The Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, Kenya Pipeline Company, KPC, and Kenya Railway have formally signed a framework following the establishment of the Kenya Transport and Logistics Network through an executive order by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The joint operations will be overseen by the National Treasury. Our reporter Mariam Wachori has the details.
Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, Kenya Pipeline Company, KPC and Kenya Railway have formally signed the framework following the establishment of the Kenya Transport and Logistics Network through an executive order by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The joint operations will be overseen by the National Treasury. The government says this is in a bid to lower the cost of operations and increase inefficiency. Some concerns that were raised were that the merger is meant to favor other firms, while others stood to benefit claims that Treasury CS Ukur Yatani has refuted.
There's been misconception that maybe we are going this direction for the sake of bailing out one organization. No, these are all liquid. They are doing very well. In fact, last year, significant amount of our budget support came from these agencies. And on their own, they are doing very well. But we want them to do better.
The merger is also aimed at promoting the use of locally available materials and resources so as to support the local manufacturers and grow the economy.
We have upgraded it to a level of higher standard that is going to create positive impact in the economy of the coast, but also the country.
Ukur Yatani has also rubbished claims that the merger would result in loss of job opportunities for the locals of the coastal region.
The creation of this network will not lead to any loss of jobs. Contrary, is going to increase the space for additional jobs.
Despite the rising concerns from the residents that this new establishment might bring forth the lack of job opportunities for the residents, the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, Ukur Yatani, has actually reaffirmed that job opportunities will be available despite the joining of the Kenya Ports Authority, the Kenya Railway Corporation, as well as the Kenya Pipeline Corporation into one umbrella body. Reporting for TV47 from Mombasa, I am Maria Mwacharo.
You're watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. Time for us to take another short break. When we come back from the break, we'll be getting sporty and talk sports. Stay tuned. Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. Let's get to the world of sports now. And Innocent Simiyu is the new Kenya Sevens rugby team Shujaa head coach, as unveiled on Tuesday morning by the Kenya Rugby Union. The tactician, whose route in the sport dates back to the year 1998, is well accustomed for the role which he is taking up for the second time. Our reporter Dennis Otieno brings us Simuyu's profile in his rugby career. Our programs.